Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 369. My name is Adam Patterson. With me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine, I guess. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing
I
okay.
still don't know how to answer that question.
I know it's I'm just going to stop asking it because none of us, I mean, we can all say we're fine, but we're really just like barely hanging on.
No. Yeah, it's a weird time.
We're all just screaming into the void.
I'm just existing. I'm alive. Okay.
Mm-hmm. This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. We'll also be going over some we're watching on the watch list, new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be super helpful. I don't really have any housekeeping bits this week. We're still trying to work out the Ryan Watches a Movie schedule, so we'll report back on that as soon as we have it figured out. But I think we can just dive right into our review. As I said, we're talking about Da 5 Bloods. This came out on Netflix on Friday, so it is available right now if you have Netflix. Directed by Spike Lee, I have a synopsis here. 4 African-American vets battle the forces of man and nature when they return to Vietnam seeking the remains of their fallen squad leader and the gold fortune he helped them hide. Kevin, we'll kick it off with you. What were your initial impressions of Da 5 Bloods?
Initial impressions this is surprising in a lot of ways. This one, there's a lot of developments in this movie that I did not foresee. They were, pretty surprising, nonetheless. So I never quite settled in. It always kept you on your toes, which was good in a way. Because I really had no idea what to expect at any moment, because this is a movie that it's at times very lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of comedy mixed in there. You got all the political facets to it, and the history lesson type deals. And then it's also really bloody. And there's a surprising body count, which I was not.
Yeah.
I was expecting in the flashback sequences that, that take place in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Okay, yes, I was fully expecting body count there. But I wasn't expecting a body count in the present day, and definitely not as high as it was.
Yeah, I agree. It's so funny as I was watching this, I was thinking about Spike Lee's directing style and just the really drastic tonal shifts that this movie takes. As you said, it begins very lighthearted, very fun. They're cracking jokes. These are a bunch of guys who went through the shit together, and they have this really sort of unshakable bond, and they're reuniting after a very long time, and in the place where they had so many memories. They seem like brothers, and they're just, giving each other shit and making fun of each other, and it's all very light, very fun. And then, as you said, there's these it pulls a 180 and it gets really serious and really violent. And I think that a lot of other filmmakers wouldn't be able to pull off tonal shifts that are that drastic and have it work. But then I was thinking about Spike Lee does this a lot. He will frequently do things in his movies that most directors just can't pull off. Certain things, when he breaks the fourth wall and all these stylistic choices that he makes that I think if pretty much any other director tried it, you would just be rolling your eyes and be like, what is going on here? This just doesn't work.
Sorry to cut you off, but the interesting thing, because I wanted to jump on that, the fourth wall break where Delroy Lindo's character does his monologue. You've seen that in so many Spike Lee movies that it's almost to the point now that when you watch a Spike Lee movie, you're essentially waiting for that sequence to happen. And I have a feeling that you would actually be slightly disappointed if there wasn't a fourth wall break monologue somewhere within the runtime.
Yep.
You would feel cheated almost.
That and I guess it's and I apologize for probably not getting the technical term correct, but the dolly shots that he does
Yeah, he
Uh,
always does it where they like floating towards you.
yeah, I think that would just be a dolly shot. I don't know if there's like a specific term for that type of shot, but at any rate, he always incorporates that. And anytime that shows up in a Spike Lee movie, it gets me every time. I'm just like, yes, yes.
I love it too because it's such a simple thing. Like you know that they're just like sitting on a little platform and it's just being like rolled, but you're still like, oh, magic, love it.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how to employ it. It's like in a Wes Anderson movie when he does the slow motion over the whatever song he chooses, and like whenever that shows up, I'm just like, yes, yes. I'm like the Nintendo 64 kid when that happens. Getting back to Delroy Lindo and just the performances of everyone in this movie, I thought that Delroy Lindo just absolutely crushed this movie. His role, certainly the meatiest of the characters, even though it was an ensemble piece. I think that Delroy Lindo's character was the most complex out of all of them, and he was just so fucking good in this. I mean,
Yeah,
he was just incredible. And I could say the same about Jonathan Majors, who we last talked about in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. He plays David, who is Delroy Lindo's character's son in this, and he's just so good in this too. I mean, everybody did an incredible job, but I think those two, at least for me, were certainly standouts. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., of course, was incredible as well. Everybody was,
yeah,
though.
yeah. Clark Peters, but you're
Mm-hmm.
right. Delroy Lindo, like this is his movie.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely has his character is far more complex than everyone else. He has a lot more to do because he's dealing with a lot more than what the other characters are dealing with, and he definitely carries it. I think his performance really really helps because also to get back to kind of criticizing this movie to a certain extent is also for me really messy. Like there's a lot going on in this movie. When it's working, when like everything's working, engine's running, it's humming, it's fantastic. But then there's some choices here that just mm, do not work for me at all, and it was a bit much because
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of you just like you're getting thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of get into this little bit of a groove because I would say anytime it's with the Bloods and what they're doing, what their mission is, and even incorporating the flashbacks into that because I love the stylistic choice of the flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
How it's kind of shot like an old timey movie and it's really dramatic and just over the top. Like everything with the Five Bloods, I mean, just really, really works for me. And some of the other stuff, a lot of the ancillary characters that get kind of introduced, just it it was it was rough in some spots.
I completely agree with you on that. It is a war epic. You know, it's 2 hours and 35 minutes long. It's not a very light movie. It's not a breezy movie. I I didn't mind the runtime. I thought that it didn't feel bloated necessarily, but I also agree with you. Like all the stuff with the landmine crew
Hmm.
and all of that,
Yeah.
like it felt a little underdeveloped. Like, you know, you have somebody like Paul Walter Hauser in here who I think is a really promising up and coming talent, and I was kind of expecting more from his character, and he just doesn't really have much to work with at all. He plays such a tertiary character in this. I was a little disappointed with that. So maybe I could have either just done without that or had some more development, because at the end of the day, I'm just not entirely sure like why their presence was even necessary in this.
Yeah, and just the character of Heidi or Hetty, just no, they're such a poorly written character,
Yeah, I mean they tried to
and just
there was
it's just so bad.
it was almost like they were trying to shoehorn in a love story into it,
I
which
know. Why?
that didn't work at
And
all. I mean,
the worst part is it, like right off the bat, it just announces like just a huge flashing red sign of like this character is just terribly written. When like Jonathan Majors like kind of introduces, they just first started talking at the bar or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, who are those two guys?" And then she's like, "Oh, that's Simon and that's Seppo, and sometimes I have sex with them." And it's just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ,
yeah,
this is gonna be this is gonna be bad."
yeah, I could have done with that without all that, but I mean that really wasn't enough to bring it down too much for me. Getting back to the scenes the flashback sequences, I agree with you that I thought that the stylistic choices for those were really good. I believe that those were shot on 16 millimeter, and he changed the aspect ratio for those. It was like a
Hmm.
1:3:1 aspect ratio, so they shrunk it down, and it looked really good. I mean, it sort of worked seamlessly with the actual footage from Vietnam that he included. If you remember, he did that a lot he did it in Black Klansman too, where he incorporated real footage into the movie, and he does that periodically throughout this movie. He starts the movie with it, and then he sort of injects it throughout, which I thought also worked for the most part, but it's I don't know if we needed to see everything that he included in it to understand and to appreciate and fully grasp the atrocities of war. Like,
No, and it kind of comes back to I had that issue with Black Klansman of him adding the Charlottesville at the end,
mm-hmm.
and here he does it with some of the footage from Vietnam, and it seems like just a very lazy provocation. Like he's good enough at doing it within his own films, like creating a scenario that causes provocation. He's good enough at that. I don't know why he takes these like cheap ways out.
Yeah, it is a little strange, and like to show that stuff. While I do think it is important that we do bear witness to atrocities like that, it's like I just don't know if we need it in this specific context and in this specific movie, especially because sometimes it catches you off guard. Like there are several times where he'll just like flash to something and you're just not prepared for it. And I mean, maybe that was the intention, but it's just it's really rough. I mean, I don't want to see like dead children and stuff like that. And at least if I am in if I am looking for something like that in an educational way, I want to be like prepared. I want to be able to prepare myself to bear witness to something like that.
Yeah, and
And
sit down and watch, like a documentary on the Vietnam War.
yeah, yeah. But again, like although I could have done without some of that imagery, it still didn't bring the movie down a whole lot for me. I still think that it was tremendously entertaining. I think it was well written, and I think that there were a lot of really strong sequences in it. I did find the violence in it surprising and jarring, but also, the action scenes were pretty entertaining too. It wasn't something that I was fully prepared for.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely, and it is kind of interesting and funny because they do kind of point out at the beginning of where they're all kind of talking about like Rambo movies, and then at a certain point it kind of becomes a Rambo movie,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which I didn't know. I had no idea that that's where this movie was going to go,
yeah,
and it kind of caught me off guard. It kind of caught me off guard, where it's just like, wait a second, the fuck am I watching?
yeah. It was it was definitely a surprise, but it was a welcome surprise. I did enjoy it. I thought that I mean, yeah, I thought the action was pretty good overall.
Yeah,
It was
and I mean, get back to some of the other stuff, you know. where you said it didn't really, knock it down for you too much. I mean, it didn't for me either to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's one of those things that just feels like a missed opportunity because what you have here, like the good parts of it, right? It's just like something really, really, really good. And then you have these kind of unnecessary appendages to it. You just feel like if they weren't there, like if I didn't have to deal with this shoehorned in love thing, which I don't even know if that was the intent of it because it just kind of dropped off out of nowhere. But then it kind of cropped up a little bit at the end and then just disappeared again. So I'm still just really kind of confused as to what that all that was, the whole trajectory of that part of the timeline. I'm just really confused.
I think that everything else works on its own merits. You have, there's a lot of conversations, a lot of history being taught to you in this. That's something that Spike Lee does in a lot of his movies that I think, again, is something that I don't think any filmmaker could pull off by injecting these like history lessons into just basic dialogue between characters. I think that in most instances, a conversation like that would feel really forced and unnatural and sort of like I don't know, just fake. And for some reason, the way that Spike Lee does it, it all really works. I mean, I watched Bamboozled for the first time not too long ago when it came out on Criterion, and he does that a lot in Bamboozled, and it works so tremendously well where you're watching a fictional movie, but you're getting so much more out of it than just like the simple entertainment.
Yeah.
And also, like, what a time to release this movie. I mean, I know that this was planned for a while, but holy cow. I mean, could it have come out at a more important time? Jeez.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and just to get back, just to comment on the kind of like the history bits, and then the quick cutting in of like the footage of whether it be, you know, the president or like the the guy that was standing behind
Mm-hmm.
president at the rally and stuff. Like I don't know, like you said, I don't think it would work it really in any other movie. I don't know if it 100% works in Spike Lee movies, but I feel like it does. Like I just like I don't mind it,
Yeah.
and there's just I don't know. There's just something about like there's like an energy to it, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, there is a part of me that realizes like this is really fucking corny, but I'm kind of into it. I don't. It's just one of those things where you're like, this is pretty sure this is corny, but you know what? I like it. I'm just gonna like it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, that specific scene where they single out the one black guy that was at the Trump rally, and they have the giant arrow, the blinking arrow pointing to him. Like, I don't know. I've seen online several people criticizing that moment in the movie, and I can totally understand
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
that might be in poor taste to do something like that, but at the same time, it felt within the context of the scene when that happened, they were giving Delroy Lindo's character shit for being a Trump supporter, and they were saying that he was that guy, and it all felt very satirical, and for me it was just kind of just funny.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the the goodwill that Spike Lee has with us, just in terms of you know all the experience that he has, all the movies that he made. Because honestly, if it was any other director, you would just be like, what the fuck? This is fucking corny as hell. What the hell are you doing?
Yes, 100%. I mean, if any other filmmaker did something like that, I would just like Adam McKay, for instance. Like if Adam McKay did something like that,
yeah,
because
he does do it.
he does do stuff like that, and he gets criticized far more. And I'm not exactly
good because not good at it.
yeah, I think that's just what it is. Like, I think that Spike Lee just he plays by his own rules, and what works for him just doesn't necessarily work for most other directors. Because I think that more than anything, it's just it, it's the sum of the parts. Like it's the whole package. When you take something like that, like this kind of non sequitur, and you put it within the context of this overarching war epic, it just it works. It fits together.
Yeah,
And,
or it doesn't. But it does, or it doesn't. Because, like you said, there's people criticize it, and again, I can 100% understand it. Like, if you were to criticize, I'd be like, yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying. But I don't. It works for me. Sorry.
yeah,
It's just one of those things where you're just like, yeah, I know this is probably not good, but I like it. So sorry.
it's funny because like I mean I've always liked Spike Lee films, but in recent years, revisiting some of them and watching some of his older movies for the first time, I've just grown to appreciate and like his work just more and more and more. Um, so I'm really excited that this movie came out. I'm excited that Netflix gave him sort of carte blanche to make this big epic war movie. And I think that it's also great that it's on Netflix and accessible for everyone. And also just because we've gone months and months without any kind of like real substantial movies. Like to me, this feels like a big important movie. And I just feel like it's been so long since we've had anything that's been on this level. I think that makes me appreciate it even more.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's the Five Bloods. Let's give it a score. What are you thinking out of 10 on this one?
I'm thinking like a 7.
All
I'm
right.
gonna go with a 7.
Yeah, I'm sitting around a like a 7.5 on this one. Certainly worth a look. Don't let the
Oh
runtime
yeah.
don't let the runtime scare you away either. I felt like the runtime was it didn't hinder it in any way. Like I wasn't really feeling the runtime on this one.
No,
It
no,
goes by pretty quickly, and
no. I mean,
there's a
if
lot to
anything,
cover.
yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie, which is another thing. Like, how many different genres is this movie?
Oh, it's a
Because you
lot.
got like it starts off as like the like kind of like the elderly men are going on a trip. They're doing their last hurrah type deal, where it's very lighthearted comedy. These old guys, you know, and then you got like the flashback. You got the whole war movie thing going on, and then it becomes a Rambo movie. It's got the father son stuff. It's almost like every type of
Yeah,
movie.
there's almost a heist aspect of it too with the gold
Yeah,
and then like the landmine scene and just all of that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot. You know what it actually reminded me of? I was thinking about this movie as I was watching this was Dead Presidents. Remember Dead Presidents?
oh, I need to rewatch that one.
Same here. I need to
I
revisit
loved
that.
the fucking movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, I loved Dead Presidents when I was younger, and that's another movie that it is a war epic. It takes place in Vietnam, but that is a movie that also encompasses a lot of other genres, especially when you know when you look at Dead Presidents. I mean, a huge chunk of it takes place in the war, but an equal amount is there's the heist at the end, which is a very big set piece, and then there's all of the stuff like before and after the war in the like the neighborhoods, the neighborhood drama that happens in that
Yeah,
movie too. So when I look at how Dead Presidents is structured, I feel like it is in a lot of ways similar to Defy Bloods. It's also one of the few movies that depicts the African American presence in Vietnam.
yeah.
Check out Defy Bloods and then check out Dead Presidents if you haven't seen that.
I definitely. Oh, God, I want to see Dead Presidents right now.
I know. I was thinking about it like all day yesterday. I'm like, I got to see how that's available to watch because if I remember correctly, that's a very long movie too. But
Apparently, all I'm seeing is you can rent it for $2.99.
yeah,
Amazon.
that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean that's not. Apparently, there's a place that you can stream it called Hoopla. I don't know what the fuck Hoopla is.
Yeah, probably just stick with Amazon.
Like Hoopla.
Let's move on and talk about someone we're watching. I think it's my turn this week. I'll kick it off with another release that came out this weekend. The King of Staten Island. This is directed by Judd Apatow. This is the one that we had mentioned last week. It's the one that's sort of inspired by the life of Pete Davidson. It stars Pete Davidson from SNL, and loosely based around his life in Staten Island. And if you've seen a Judd Apatow movie, you've seen this movie. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect a Judd Apatow film to be. It is. I would not classify it as a comedy. It's more of a dramatic comedy. So there's a lot of serious moments in there, but it is tremendously funny. Like there are a few times where I was just laughing out loud, just chuckling it up. So there are a number of really funny moments in it, but overall it's kind of depressing. Pete Davidson does a really good job, but he's just playing himself, so I think the jury's still out on Pete Davidson. I think I need to see him in some other roles to really make a determination, because the two movies that he's in, he just basically plays himself, so can't really say much about that.
I'm pretty sure that's all he can do. I don't think he can do it.
I'm not sure what his range is, but you know what? It's he's really funny, so I mean it works for him. Marissa Tomei is in it. She plays his mom. She's great. Bill Burr's in it. Plays this guy who starts dating his mom. And if you're not familiar with the backstory of Pete Davidson, his father was a firefighter and actually killed in 9/11. So he has a lot of, mental health struggles, partially as a result of that. And Bill Burr's pretty great in it too. Steve Buscemi's in it. He plays a firefighter. Steve Buscemi was a firefighter.
Steve Buscemi was a firefighter?
I think so.
That is something that he did with his time on Earth?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it says former firefighter.
It's a little long. It's like 137 minutes, which is also pretty typical of Judd Apatow movies. It's about a guy who's, a man-child, much like every other Judd Apatow movie. So, it checks all the boxes. Checks all those Apatow boxes, including the ones that make it a pretty good movie. So I would give it a light recommend. That's The King of Staten Island. Not for you, Kevin. It's definitely not.
Are you sure?
I do not think it is a Kevin Rakestraw movie. It is definitely not a Kevin Rakestraw movie. I will also mention that the score is quite good in this one. And apparently it's the same cinematographer that did There Will Be Blood. Although I did not notice any kind of notable cinematography in it.
You notice any shots that you're like, what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
There Will Be Blood. It's got a real There Will Be Blood vibe going, visually speaking.
Yeah, did not notice any kind of outstanding cinematography by Robert Elswit. The score is done by Michael Andrews, and he's done a ton of movies over the years. He's done a lot of comedies, but he also did Donnie Darko and stuff like that. And it's just it's a good score.
It's always interesting when they get big time cinematographers like that to shoot a really just visually boring,
just pretty standard
dull movie. It's just why you could have gotten anyone to do that. I think.
Yeah,
I would have saved a ton of money.
This is the guy who did Good Night and Good Luck, Nightcrawler, Punch Drunk Love. I mean, Velvet Buzzsaw. These are all Inherent Vice. These are all really, really visual movies. But
how about that? Well, you know how I said that movie's probably not for me. Movies aren't for me. I didn't watch anything else. All I watched was The Five Bloods. That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
I didn't watch shit.
Well,
I barely even watch TV.
I had a relatively light week as well. I sort of just crammed everything in towards the end of the week. I saw Warning Do Not Play. This is a movie that came out on Shudder this weekend. It is a South Korean horror film about a director who is struggling to find her next project, and she hears about this like sort of urban legend involving a film that was accepted into this film festival, and apparently the film was shot by a ghost. So
Yes.
so the movie is just about her investigating this film and trying to figure out like what the story is behind it, and she's trying to get a copy of it. And it has a bit of a Ring vibe. There is sort of an unmistakable Ring vibe. The ghost, the villain, if you will, it's someone who was wronged and is getting revenge on the living. In this case, it was an actress who was burned to death in a fire in this like abandoned theater that they were shooting a movie in. And it's not great. There's some creepy moments for sure, but it didn't really amount to much, and it felt very dated. Like after The Ring came out and there were like a million clones, it felt like this should have been one of those. So I don't know. The thing that bothers me about like movies like this, there's a couple things. One thing is that they constantly give you flashbacks of things that you just saw. Like they're assuming that the audience is so dumb that when there's a revelation, that we're not going to remember some clue that was given to them like 5 minutes ago. So they have to do this quick flashback to when she saw this like symbol or whatever, or this one person said something. And to me, it's just like frustrating. And then secondly, in all of these movies where someone, and it's not just Asian movies that do this, American movies do this too. Whenever there's a protagonist who is investigating something like a mysterious death or whatever, there's always like one crazy person who gives them some kind of cryptic warning that only increases the intrigue and curiosity of the person doing the investigation to make them dig deeper into it. So in this case, the director of the original film that was submitted, he finds her and he's like don't pursue this. This is dangerous. You're gonna get hurt. Like, don't do it. It's crazy. And it's like, maybe she would like. Do you not realize that by doing that, it's just gonna make them want to dig deeper into this? Like, why don't you just say like, look, here's what happened. I directed this movie. A ghost took over, killed the entire crew. Almost killed me. I went insane, and now I'm an alcoholic because of this. Like, maybe she wouldn't pursue it if you gave her the proper warning rather than just this cryptic, like, don't do it. They're going to get, it's so stupid.
Yeah. But think of how many movies rely on that, like the cryptic, like,
yeah.
So many movies rely on, and not just the horror movies, thrillers where people won't just come out straight and just say like, oh, by the way, that's a really dangerous situation that I was just in. Stay out of it.
Yeah, it's just
any normal person in real life would just okay, yeah, I ain't getting into that.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just frustrating. So I can't really recommend that movie. If you have Shudder, I mean, it's on there. The last one that I'll mention, this is one that I've been meaning to watch for like years, and I missed the boat on it. But it's a found footage horror movie called As Above, So Below. And did you see this movie? This came out in 2014.
It sounds really familiar. No, but my wife did watch this movie.
Okay,
I remember her watching it. I didn't.
Yeah, I could have sworn that we had like maybe just a short conversation about this. Like maybe you were talking about you were gonna watch it or something. But at any rate, I finally watched this last night. The reason I didn't watch this back when it came out in 2014 is during this time I was so done with the found footage genre or style rather. I had no interest in it. I was like, no, not another one of these. Like I am so done with these found footage movies that I just had no interest. But over the years, I heard people sort of talking about this, and it sort of remained in the conversation. It wasn't completely forgotten, and I always kind of thought, oh yeah, you know what, I should revisit this. And I was looking for a horror movie to watch last night, and I was like, you know what, let's just do this. It's on Netflix. So I gave it a look, and you know what? I really enjoyed this movie. It does fall for all of the standard found footage tropes where you're left wondering, like, how did they get that footage when they left the camera that was recording it down in the catacombs and all of that stuff. So there's like, obviously it breaks all of the logic rules like so many of these movies do. However, this story, it was just really interesting in this one. Like, I was really intrigued as to where this was going the whole time. It was almost like this like Da Vinci Code style movie where they're like going into museums and getting clues from artifacts and then trying to find maps and solve riddles and shit like that down in the Paris catacombs, which I think, you know, the catacombs in Paris are inherently kind of fascinating on their own. And the fact that this whole movie, for the most part, takes place down there. And there's some genuinely creepy stuff that happens too. So I actually enjoyed myself. It's dumb. It's very dumb, but I had a pretty good time with it. If you're looking for a pretty fun found footage movie, I would say check out As Above, So Below. There's some actually pretty decent effects in this too. There's some, I was kind of expecting it to be like more of like a Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch thing where the effects are really sort of not present and it's more psychological, and you know, they use camera glitches and stuff to cover up the lack of budget, but there's actually some effects work in this. So again, very dumb, to be clear. To be clear, it is dumb. We're not looking at, this isn't National Treasure, okay? We're not talking National Treasure style puzzles here that need to be deciphered. These are really basic things, but fun nonetheless. All right, let's take a look at what we have on VOD this week. On the 16th, we have The Short History of the Long Road. We have My Father the Spy. We have The Luring, which is a horror movie. We got Vampire Dad. Look out.
Oh, yeah.
You should check out the poster for Vampire Dad.
It reminds me of BoJack, Birthday Dad.
It reminds me of like one of those Scholastic books.
Oh my God, yes.
That's what it reminds me of. Like, My Teacher Was an Alien or whatever. Vampire Dad. Pick it up at the Scholastic Book Fair. We also have Tainted. And this is a story about a reformed neo-Nazi.
No thanks.
It's not a documentary. It's a narrative. We got Seahorse. That is a documentary that's about the trans man who decides that he wants to have a child, and the crazy steps that he has to go through to like undo his transition and all of that stuff. We have The Marshes. This is going to be on, I think this is going to be on Shudder. I believe this is an Australian horror movie.
Okay.
Looks a little similar to Wolf Creek. Got The Pollinators. That's a documentary about beekeeping.
Good old beekeeping doc.
Yep. On the 18th, we have Scare Package. That's going to be on Shudder. If you remember, I talked about that like a week ago or something. That's worth a look. That's a pretty fun horror anthology. This was actually, they premiered it on this past week's Last Drive-In. So, and it'll be on Shudder proper on the 18th. Some Other Paris is going to be on YouTube. That's premiering on YouTube. A Whisker Away, which is going to be on Netflix. It's a Japanese animated film. Disclosure is going to be on Netflix. That's a documentary. We got Baby Teeth. Disclosure and Baby Teeth are going to be on the 19th. That's Friday. Mr. Jones. We got Queen of Lapa, which you had talked about quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have Woman on the Beach. That is a virtual theatrical release. We have Jack and Yaya. That's a documentary about two best friends who grew up together, childhood best friends, and it turned out that both of them were trans. And so one transitioned into a man, the other transitioned into a woman. So kind of a interesting dynamic there. We have Bully Coward Victim, the story of Roy Cohn. It's going to be on HBO. I Am Vengeance Retaliation.
Oh man.
I Am Vengeance Retaliation. Now, I'm looking at this title. Now, I'm wondering if this is some kind of sequel. Is this part of a series? Because it's I Am Vengeance, Retaliation.
Vengeance.
So I'm wondering if that's part of the I Am Vengeance series, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, I would imagine, because there's an I Am Vengeance from 2018.
Okay, that must be it.
There's also an I Am Vengeance from 2013, but I think that's its own thing. This is a Stu Bennett vehicle, I guess. There's an I Am Vengeance from 2016.
Is that all? Is that also Stu Bennett? Because Stu Bennett is in the sequel here. Revenge just doubled down.
Oh shit!
So this features Stu Bennett and Vinnie Jones.
Oh god!
He plays Stu Bennett plays former Special Forces soldier John Gold. He's given the opportunity to bring Sean Teague, the man who betrayed his team on their final mission in Eastern Europe several years ago, to justice.
Oh, Teague and Gold.
We also have Miss Juneteenth coming out on the 19th, obviously. We got Father Soldier Son. That's also on Netflix. We have Star Dog and Turbo Cat. That is an animated film featuring the voices of Luke Evans, Nick Frost, Gemma Arterton, Bill Nighy. There you go. That's about it for VOD. Blu-ray this week. There's some kind of giant Columbia Classics box set that is in 4K. This features 6 movies, including Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Strangelove, Gandhi, A League of Their Own, and Jerry Maguire.
What?
Yeah. What?
Hold up. What was that last one?
Jerry Maguire. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. A League of Their Own. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird collection. Just a really strange collection. 910 minutes on that one. It's a 17 disc set.
Okay.
Do you need 17 discs for 6 movies? What? Like,
yeah. How is it?
I mean, even if each movie is 2 discs, I mean, come on. Like, what are we working with here? Why are there so many discs?
What else is going on?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Just what a weird. Again, just a very strange mishmash of movies in that collection. Okay, we have Braveheart coming out in 4K. Same with Gladiator. We have The Giant Spider Invasion from 1975. That's being remastered. It's a remastered edition.
Yes.
Dark Force Entertainment is putting that out. Never heard of them. The Hills Run Red from 2009 coming out on Blu-ray. Looks like Friday the 13th is getting some kind of new release. A 40th anniversary limited edition. So that might be worth a look. I don't know. Sukiyaki Western Django from 2007 is coming out on Criterion Collector's Edition.
Yeah.
If only. That one's worth a look. A little classic Takeshi Miike there. Let's see. Impractical Jokers, the movie.
Oh, okay.
The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea from 1976. This is a Scorpion releasing title.
Nice try. Nice try, Scorpion. I know what you really are.
Online pharmacy, or whatever you said.
Yeah, come on.
Young Ahmed is coming out. Three Christs from 2017. Sniper, The Assassin's End, starring Tom Berenger.
Man, how many snipers is that?
A lot. You know, I don't think I've never seen a single Sniper movie. I don't think. I should rectify that this year. I should watch at least the first one.
Started back in 1993.
Yeah.
You got Sniper, Sniper 2, Sniper 3, Sniper Reloaded, Sniper Legacy, Sniper Ghost Shooter.
Ghost Shooter.
Sniper Ultimate Kill, and Sniper Assassin's End. You should start with Sniper 6 Ghost Shooter.
No, I think I'll start with the first one, thank you.
No, please start with Sniper 6 Ghost Shooter.
We'll see. My Father the Spy is coming out. Deadly Crush from 2018. Lieutenant Jangles from 2018 is coming out also. And that's about it for... that's pretty much everything. What about Criterion's this week?
Besides Sugiyaki Western Django, we have The Cameraman, Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton, Cameraman. Which also has... this was the first film that he did for MGM. He signed with MGM. And it also has his second feature with MGM, A Spite Marriage. That's also on their own restoration with commentary. It's got new score. It's got all sorts of stuff. New documentaries.
I just watched another one of those fantastic Buster Keaton compilations. Man.
Good stuff.
One of a kind. All right. Cool. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulse.net and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.